Support WrestleTalk!
Enable notifications.
Hell in a Cell is here, and the show is jam-packed with exciting matches. Becky Lynch versus Charlotte, you bitch. AJ Styles and Samoa Joe with a side of Wendy. Daniel Bryan versus The Miz, plus wives. Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns with PTSD Mick Foley as referee. And loads more. I'll go through them all in a minute. All right, patience. I'm El Fakador Laurie Blake, and these are my predictions for Hell in a Cell. The New Day versus Rusev Day for the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Who saw this one coming, eh? Who saw this one? For the last few weeks, it really seemed like it would be the Bar facing off against the New Day for the titles. After all, they just returned to a great reaction, and they'd already had a mini feud with the New Day, so there was storyline bubbling away there. So it seemed like they were a shoo-in. Ah well, at least they got to slap the white off of Aiden English on this week's SmackDown. And admittedly, it also seemed like Rusev Day weren't long for this world. A lot of the story they've been telling has been building tension between the Bulgarian brute and Lana and Aiden English, who, despite trying to help all the time, wasn't doing very well. WWE breaking up a fan favourite team. When has that ever happened before? But with Aiden this week making the ultimate sacrifice, getting kicked in the face by Sheamus, he's earned the right to stand by Rusev's side and also earn them a tag title opportunity at the same time. As it seems that WWE are finally leaning into the best faction they have on SmackDown, sorry sanity, I'm going to give it to Rusev Day. Yeah, the New Day just won the titles. They're five-time, shut up, Phillips, champs at this point, and it's not exactly like they need the belts. And if they lose the belts to Rusev Day, they can be six-time champs the next time they pick them up. And we won't have to break out Booker T for a little Spinneroonie coronation this time. All wins. Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler versus Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose for the Raw Tag Team Championships. I cannot tell you how pleased I am that Drew and Dolph finally ended the misery that was the B Team. It's a shame that the entire B Team run has basically devalued the Raw Tag Team titles to the point that just owning a set of bottle caps would have been better. Or just owning the Revival and wearing them around your waist, that's pretty prestigious. The Revival, who have also been ruined by this thing and should probably just rename themselves the Resuscitation, because that's what they're in need of. Since winning the belts off of the B Team, Drew and Dolph have already successfully retained against the B Team, hopefully driving them into the ground, never to be seen again. So with that in mind, and the fact they've already retained, you wouldn't really want to take the titles off them this early into the run. But then again, if their Intercontinental Championship feud is anything to go by, Dolph and Seth love trading titles. And there's no denying that the Shield owning all the titles as a storyline could be pretty cool, as it would rally the whole locker room against them. And then if they get completely comfortable in their tweener role, they could get more despicable in the ways they try to hold on to their haul. Basically, the Shield versus everybody feels like a very Vince thing to do. However, I think Drew and Dolph need to keep the belts here, as their team up with Strowman has produced some of the most interesting moments on Raw for a long time, even if the Strowman heel turn felt a little forced in places. But I don't care what you fans think. I sound mental. Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella versus The Miz and Maryse. Who even cares? Seriously, this feud between Daniel Bryan and The Miz has been all over the place. This should be the hottest thing in WWE right now, but it's not. For a time in the build-up to SummerSlam, it was, lobbing the dollies right aside. But then you had to add the wives into the mix. One is officially retired and the other had a baby just 5 months ago. This has got the makings of amazing match written all over it. The only way it could be worse is if Nikki Bella was involved. That's not to say that Brie and Maryse's inclusion doesn't make sense. After all, it was Maryse who handed the brass knuckles to Miz at SummerSlam, giving him the cheap win over Daniel Bryan. And then it was Brie who came out to the rescue, now making sure that that exact thing doesn't happen again. By falling out of the ring when she's meant to do a suicide dive, hurting herself, and then causing the distraction, giving Daniel Bryan the win? Question mark? That's not my actual prediction, but I do think that Daniel Bryan will be taking the win here. In fact, I think it's going to be Brie Bella pinning Maryse. There's a couple of reasons for this. This postpones The Miz and Daniel Bryan proper for another time. It gives both men a win in this feud so far, although anything involving Brie Bella is actually a loss. And the whole "it was your wife that won, not you, Daniel" gives a great excuse to have a rematch further down the line. So Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella, sadly, for the win. Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton in a Hell in a cell. So Randy Orton's been poking Jeff Hardy in the ear like an unlicensed jeweler for a couple of months now, and this has led Jeff to demand a Hell in a Cell match. The rumour is that Jeff wanted this match to check it off of his list before he retired, as he hasn't died yet doing crazy spots. So far in their confrontations, after the initial set of beatdowns by Orton and the creepy curtain lurking, Jeff has been the one winning over in the fights and standing tall, which leads me to believe that it's Randy Orton taking home the win at Hell in a Cell. Especially when you consider the idea that Orton's current gimmick is that he wants to ruin fan favourites, and there is talk of him going on to have a feud with Rey Mysterio when he returns sometime in September. It is September now. Where is Rey Mysterio? So it makes sense for Orton to win here to solidify his gimmick. My prediction for the end is that Jeff is probably going to swanton off the top of the cell. Yeah, really, he's apparently very dinged up at the moment, but up he goes. Then he's going to miss, and that is going to allow Orton to get the pinfall, and then Orton can just leave, and then if Jeff can stand up, he can get a standing ovation in the centre of the ring and retire peacefully, and then join Matt in the Lake of Reincarnation, should it be the home of retirement. Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship. I've come round to the idea of Rousey being the Raw Women's Champion. I think maybe I was initially bitter because we bet on Alexa to win, and then we had to do the whole dance at Wrestling MediaCon, which we bloody smashed. Just ask Jushin. Loved it. So I doubt they'll be taking the title off of Ronda anytime soon, especially with Evolution right around the corner and that rumoured match with Nikki Bella. I am frothing at the mouth for that. Oh no, it's drool. I micro-slept for a moment there. The night after SummerSlam, Bliss did have her arm in a sling, kayfabe, and now Rousey is also nursing some bruised ribs. So it's kind of even Stevens in the injury department, which means that this match might be a little less one-sided than the SummerSlam match, which was essentially arm breaker mania. Really, you got to see the baddest woman on the planet taking this one home and probably having a title reign all the way up until WrestleMania. Because otherwise, how will she be, as the great prophet Nikki Bella said on Raw last week, the greatest women's champion of all time? Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch for the SmackDown Women's Champion. This is a tough one to pick, especially as it seems like WWE have no idea what they're doing with Becky Lynch. One minute she hates the fans and is a heel, the next minute she's more like Stone Cold. And now Bryan Alvarez on the Wrestling Observer is saying there could be a double turn and she'll end up as a face at the end of Hell in a Cell. It's like we've come full circle in 4 weeks. Personally, I think Becky should win because another loss to Charlotte kind of kills all the momentum she's built up since that beatdown at SummerSlam, but also all of the face momentum she was gaining, earning her title shot ahead of that time. I mean, unless of course you do the double turn and Charlotte turns heel, and then you can build babyface Becky back up to a bigger title coronation at Survivor Series or something like that. But that involves more turns than the Central European seaside. Ornithology joke. Someone's got to make them. So considering the confusing melting pot of having Becky lose and all of the momentum it would take away from her, I'm going to give it to Becky. She's got to win this one. AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe for the WWE Championship. Oh, Andy, is this one going to be good? Aside from Charlotte versus Becky, this has got to be the most interesting feud on SmackDown at the moment. Joe has taken this to an incredibly personal place and pushed AJ to the absolute limit. And also this is now the run back to SummerSlam where AJ was the one who got disqualified following all of the Wendy-related shenanigans from Joe. With that said, it's not entirely necessary for Joe to win the title here. I think he's already done enough to cement himself as the top heel on SmackDown and easily the best promo within that part of the brand. Kevin Owens being his counter on Raw. Also, I really feel like they're trying to break CM Punk's record with AJ and going to keep the title on him for as long as possible. Plus, he's also the cover star of 2K19, as he was at SummerSlam, and that's why he didn't lose. I can't really see him losing the belt until that game is out in the wild, people are playing it, and we're past it, and then the cover doesn't matter anymore. But fear not, Samoa Joe fans, because this is a feud that can run and run and run and bubble away in the background even while AJ faces off against other people. It doesn't always have to be Joe, because he can always be sneak attacking or harassing without getting a match. So it's kind of a win-win if AJ wins, because we get to see more of this match down the line. Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman in a Hell in the Cell match for the Universal Championship. The answer to this one is very simple. Whose yard is it? The big rumour currently floating around is that Roman is set to have an incredibly long title reign, so that's probably why Strowman is not going to win this one. It's a shame that the booking machinery is on display yet again, and we can guess what's going to happen. And also the slightly ill-advised heel turn of Strowman, turning on the fans, turning on everyone because they wouldn't let him cash in his Money in the Bank contract, even though they did, because he set up this match for Hell in a Cell ahead of time because he's a fiend for admin, is Strowman. The heel turn means that he can lose here and lose his Money in the Bank championship opportunity without the fans being too cross, at least the way that WWE's warped worldview views it. I will still be cross because he would be a good Universal Champion, and Roman Reigns has basically been teased as the champion for 3 or 4 years now, and I don't care anymore. Doesn't matter whose yard it is if you've shit all over it. Another wrinkle to this match is that Mick Foley is going to be a special guest referee, and that's another good way to get Braun Strowman the kind of heat that makes people not really mind him losing. As it has been reported by Sports Illustrated that Foley is going to take a big bump from Strowman. You don't mess with mankind. So with all the backstage rumors and gossip and stuff floating around, you kind of feel like Roman has to take this. And also I think to legitimize the fact that he's had this multi-year struggle against Brock Lesnar to get the Universal title back onto Raw, it is way too soon to take the belt off him. So you have to give it to Roman. So there you have it. Those are my predictions for Hell in a Cell. But what did Ollie and Luke think? Click the link on screen now to find out. And give us a subscribe to stay up to date with all of the latest wrestling news. I've been El Fakador, and that was Lucha.